Abba Yahuah, I just want to praise you and I just want to thank you in this day, Father. And what a privilege it is that we are those that understand about the Shabbat, that we understand that you have put us on a path of set apartness and how we need to be able to draw closer to you and how we need to be able to come and just embrace that which you have already given to us as a foundation. And Father, the more I read your word and the more I understand how the nations have gone astray and how the church has gone astray because we have listened to the doctrines of demons. We have taken ourselves out of the timeline of heaven. And when we align ourselves with the timeline of heaven, then we are aligned with that which you want for our lives. We come out of alignment with you. And so, Father, I just pray that truly you would help us to be able to, in this time of this month of Iyar, as we are preparing ourselves to be able to come and stand before you on Mount Sinai, a mountain that has to deal with the flesh, to be able to meet with you for this Shavuot. They had to come and stand before you. They had to cleanse themselves 3 days and come and stand before you for Shavuot. And so you are taking us through. As you were testing them and trying them in the time that they came out of Egypt, and as they found themselves in their wilderness, there was a lot of complaining and a lot of moaning and a lot of griping. But you were the one that was setting them apart because you wanted a people. Because you said, if you diligently obey my voice and guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples of the earth. For all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a reign of priests, a set apart nation. Those are the words which you are to speak to the children of Israel. And so, Abba, this is who we want to be. This is who we choose to be. This is the people that we want to be, a set-apart remnant bride for you. But Father, there's conditions to this. But yet, man thinks that just because we've received Yahushua, there is no conditions. We automatically a bride. That is a lie. And that is why many are going to come in that day and say, Yahushua, I cast out demons in your name. I prophesied in your name. And he's going to say, depart from me, you children of iniquity. I do not know. So Abba, I pray that we will be counted worthy, that we will be able to be those with oil in our lamps, that you truly will be able to come and help us to understand what it is that you are wanting from us in this time, so that we can clean ourselves up, so that we can be those that can stand, being able to receive the fullness as we come up that Mount Sinai, a mountain that is to kill the flesh, as I know it only too well. Please will you put a coal of fire upon my lips, that I will only speak that which you have for me to speak. In Yahushua's name. Hallelujah. So, beloveds, last week we are continuing with this Church of Philadelphia that we came and we were starting to look at the Church of Philadelphia as this is the faithful church. There's two faithful churches. Church of Smyrna, which were given a crown because they had to endure and they were severely persecuted. But then there is a Church of Philadelphia. And the messenger of the assembly in Philadelphia writes, so we are in Revelation chapter 3, verse 7. And to the messenger of the assembly in Philadelphia write, he who is set apart, who is true. So this is the church of those that are set apart, and this is the church of those that walk in truth. Yahushua is revealing himself through this church. So this is the church because each one of them had a lampstand, and the lampstand is representing this congregation, this assembly, and it is Yahushua is making sure that he is the one. He's the one representing himself through all 7 of these churches. And this very church is the one that he speaks is to be set apart and true. So we started looking at set apartness last week. And so we need to understand, as we had a look at what it means to be set apart, and that it means to be set apart to be set apart unto Yahuwah is to be set apart from all else and dedicated to Yahushua and to his use. What is set apart unto Yahuwah is not contaminated by the corruption of this world and its influence. That's what it means to be set apart. But you know what? This is the problem. This is not being taught in a church system, because all we have the understanding is that we are saved, but we do not have a revelation of that understanding to be set apart. So we can look like the world, act like the world. That is why you've now got believers that you look at a believer and you cannot see the difference between a believer and between one that is in the world. Because there is no holiness, there's no set apartness. Whatever the world does is what they do. And this is what I just saw in just yesterday. This is what I saw. Someone that I was speaking to, that man is part of a cell group, but uses the foulest language that you could possibly get. Will drink, will smoke, will do all of that. But man turns around and says, no, our little cell group, not little, because there's over 30 people in the cell group. It's not just a cell group that is, what I was told was, no, this is, we live the Bible. We live the Bible. We don't just go to church. We live the Bible. And I stood there and I looked at this and I thought, wow, is this what living the Bible is? So you see, then I realized this is where the church is. The church is totally defiled. They look like the world. They tattoo themselves as the world does. I mean, you go and see the tattoos in the world. You can't even go to a beach and it's just tattoos everywhere. But then you go to the church and you see the people in the church will do exactly the same. Because why? Because we don't read our foundational covenant that says you shall not tattoo your body. Because this is a temple. It's a temple. It's a set apart holy temple for the Father. I mean, if you get a brand new car and it's, say, for example, a Porsche or a Lamborghini, you're not going to go put stickers on it because, wow, that is an expensive car. But now we will take something that is his, holy, set apart unto him, and this is what we will do. And then the foul things that come out of our mouth and the way that we will just contaminate this body. And it's okay. It's okay to contaminate it. It's okay. Because why? There's no set apartness. There's no be holy as I'm holy. There's no be set apart as I'm set apart. Because holiness is set apartness. And this is what is going on. And it's just deteriorating. That's why in Daniel chapter 12 and in Revelation, it says that the righteous will become more righteous and the wicked will become more wicked. But why? It's because we have not been taught. Look what it says in Revelation chapter 22 verse 11. He who does wrong, let him do more wrong. He who is filthy, let him be more filthy. He who is righteous, let him be more righteous. He who is set apart, let him be more set apart. So you see, we are supposed to be put on a path of set apartness. And this is when I stand back and I look and I say, wow, if this is what you call set apartness, something is surely lacking. Because if I were to look at your life, do you look like a person that is reflecting my Messiah? Is that how my Messiah would behave? Is this what my Messiah would do? Because you're reflecting the Messiah. So that is why we go to 2 Corinthians. And in 2 Corinthians chapter 6 from verses 14, it says, do not become unevenly yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership have righteousness and lawlessness. Now, beloveds, this is the very revelation that the Father was giving me just in this week. He had me going to look at this deep revelation of the understanding of this lawlessness, because this is where we are. You see, the church is becoming more and more lawless because the anti-Messiah comes with, from the beginning, the anti-Messiah was a lawless. He is the man of lawlessness. So what is an anti-Messiah? Everybody's looking at this and trying to look at a specific person. It's a system, and the system is already part. Yes, I'm not going to say that there might not be a person raising up, but I understand this is an entire system, and the system is lawless. Because if you look, we have laws on our roads. We have laws of our countries. We have certain laws that we got to abide by. But now we as believers want to have no laws. So what does that make us? Lawless. So how do you turn around and say, well, now that I received Yahushua, I don't need any laws? So if the law is written upon your heart, then how can you say you don't need it? If it's written upon your heart, you better know what the law is, because that's what's now on your heart, which means you haven't been void of it. You have not been void of it. And so that is why we are, what partnership are we to have with righteousness and with lawlessness? And that is why the two witnesses that are coming are confronting two very specific things, which is what the Father has revealed to me. So when we have a look at these two witnesses, which would be Moses and Elijah, what would they be? What would they be confronting? So if we go to Matthew, let's go to Matthew, because we need to put everything in its proper perspective, because I need you to understand that this company of people that are raising up, this people that are going to be sealed off of the 144,000, they are the ones that are going to do the great exploits. They are those two olive trees. Those two olive trees, they are those two olive trees. So those two olive trees are the two olive trees that are presenting the two houses, the house of Ephraim and the house of Judah. And they are the fullness of the 12 tribes, which we have already established as we read in Revelation chapter 7. They were the ones being sealed off. So they are being made up of the 12 tribes. So what will they represent? What will they represent? So if we have a look at Matthew chapter 5, from verse 17, the famous scripture, do not think I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets. So do you see? Yahushua is saying, do not think I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to complete. Now that word complete means to uphold and to establish. It means to lift up. It means to make full. It means to fill up. It means to top up. It means to perfect. Now we looked at that word perfect. So it's not coming to do away with it. It's coming to enhance it. Because his blood now doesn't allow us to be able to receive the punishment that we would have received if we break it. As long as we are confessing. But if we continue to trample the blood of Yahushua underfoot, there's no more forgiveness for sins. Because we have trampled the blood of Yahushua underfoot, and you can go read that in Hebrews chapter 10 from verses 28, 29 to I think 30 or 31. So he says, so do not think I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to complete, to uphold, to lift up, to make full. He says, for truly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, not one yud or one tittle shall by no means pass from the Torah until all be done. And the last time I looked, heaven and earth is still here. Whoever then breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches men so shall be called least in the reign of the heavens. But whoever does and teaches them, he shall be called great in the reigns of the heavens. For I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees. So how can you say that once I receive Yahushua, I am now the righteousness of Yahushua? I have no right. I don't need to do any righteous. I don't need to become righteous because Yahushua is my righteousness. Yet he says, for I say to you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall by no means enter into the reigns of the heavens. So we better understand righteousness. And this is what we're going to look at. And so here, he's saying he came to uphold the Torah and the prophets. Who was with him? Moses, representing Torah. Eliyahu, representing prophets. Those were the two that was with him on the Mount of Transfiguration. What does he do? He embraces to say, together you will walk in spirit and in truth. Spirit, because the prophets is all dealing with the spirit. Moses, because that's the truth of the word. That's the foundation of the truth of the word that has been given us. And those are the two pillars that we need to stand by. And so that is why here we see the law and the prophets. Why? Because Moses represents the law, which is why there is lawlessness on this earth. And then Elijah representing the prophets. And what do we have on this earth? False prophets, false prophets. So what does Elijah come to do? He comes to confront the false prophets, because that is what we're dealing with at the moment. All the false prophetic things that are on this earth. So if we have a look and we see Moses would have to confront all the lawless, because at the end of the day, we need to come back to the truth of the word. It's the truth of the word that we need to come back to. And then you're going to get Eliyahu that is going to have to confront the false prophetic, because that is what is running rampage on the earth at the moment, is the false prophetic. And Moses is going to represent truth, the truth of the word. Eliyahu represents the spirit. So what are our two foundations? Yahushua spoke in John chapter 4 where he said, my Father is looking for true worshippers, those that will worship me in spirit and in truth. So we need spirit and we need truth. We need to understand the prophetic and we need to understand the truth, because we need to be beings that are operated by the spirit, and we need to be beings that are operating by the truth. So if we then let's go to 2 Thessalonians. We can really go deep into this. Can do a whole sermon just on this, is what the Father gave me in this week, because he's revealing to me about this great deception. So if we look and see, listen to what he says from 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 from verse 7. For the secret of lawlessness is already at work, only until he who restrains comes out of the midst. And then the lawless one shall be revealed, whom the master shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and bring to naught with the manifestation of his coming. So you see, it's the spirit of his mouth. Because why? The lawless one is the one that is into everything that is lawless, everything that doesn't stand for truth, everything that's falsehood. Now listen, the coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Hasatan, with all power, signs, wonders of falsehood. So understand, it's all this falsehood that is out there. So we will have a gospel that's falsehood. We're going to have teachings. We're going to have prophetic words. We're going to have all these things that is going to be based on falsehood. So it's not just the false signs and wonders. So we are looking for these false prophets that are doing false signs, wonders. Now, beloveds, when prophets are not bringing you back into the truth of our foundational covenant, every single prophet in the Bible, there is two things that they are constantly on about. They are telling you to repent. There is a repentance. If there is a prophet and they are not telling you to repent, then I have to question what kind of prophet that is. Because a prophet will always have a message of repentance. And what are we repenting from? A prophet will always bring you back to the Father because we are out of line. And what is the biggest issue that every single prophet was telling them to come back to? To come back to his ways, to come back to his commands, to come back to his statutes, his laws, his ordinances. Every prophet. Why would it have changed when we are still dealing with lawlessness? Nothing's changed, beloveds. We are still where it was then. So the true prophets are the ones that are raising up now, and they are with a message like the spirit of Elijah, like the spirit of Moshe, that is having to be able to say, you need to come back to these ways. You need to repent because you are out of line. So he says, all signs and wonders of falsehood, and that falsehood is a lie, deceitful, to speak lies, to deceive. So what was the sin in the beginning in the garden? It had everything to do with deception. And with all deceit and unrighteousness in those perishing, because they did not receive the love of the truth. They did not receive the love of the truth in order for them to be saved. So, salvation is not just the fact that we understand salvation where we say we just have to receive Yahushua. Salvation is when I've received Yahushua, we've got to be able to follow the one who I've received. He needs to become the master of my life. And for this reason, Allah sends them a working of delusion for them to believe the falsehood. Now that delusion we are going to look into. So he says, in order that all should be judged who did not believe the truth. So, beloveds, everything about what we are supposed to be coming into now is coming into truth. We have to come back into truth because it's the truth that's going to set us free. Because what is going to be out there, everything that is out there is going to be to take us further and further into falsehood, so that we are not following the way of the Father in spirit and in truth. And in order that all should be judged who did not believe the truth, but have delighted in the unrighteousness. And so we're going to have to look at what is righteous and what is unrighteous. But we ought to give thanks to Yahuah Elohah always for you, brothers, beloveds of the Master, because Yahuah from the beginning chose you to be saved. Now look at this. This is the salvation. You are to be saved in set apartness, in spirit, set apartness of spirit, and belief in the truth. There is your Elijah, set apartness of spirit, spirit of Elijah, bringing us back into the understanding of the prophetic and the fullness of walking by the Spirit. And what does it mean to be walking by the Spirit? It means that I hear what the Spirit says and I do what the Spirit says. I don't do what my flesh wants. I am led by the 7 spirits of Yahuah. And then belief in the truth. And that is the foundation of our covenant that we've already been given from the beginning. No new command do I give you. I've already given you the commands. The new command that I give you is love your neighbor as you love Yahuah, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now tell me, when people want to throw that at me, I say to them, okay, so what does that mean? Loving Abba Yahuah is the first 4 commands. If you love him, you obey his commands. So to love him means you obey his commands. And then you love your neighbor. That's the rest of the 6 commands. You shall not steal, you shall not kill, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not lie, all that, you shall not covet. All of that deals with the neighbor. It's all to do with the neighbor. And the first 4, you shall keep the Sabbath, you shall not take his name in vain, you shall have no other idols, and you shall love the Father. Shema. Hear and obey. And then he says, if you love me, you obey my commands. So there's your first command. So in that first command is all the commands. To love him means to obey him, and in spirit and in truth. So when we go look at this church of Philadelphia, it says that Yahushua comes to this church of Philadelphia. And how does he come? The messenger of the church of the assembly in Philadelphia write, he who is set apart. So Yahushua is the one who is being seen in this church as the one who is set apart. He who is true. So we've dealt with set apartness. Now, what is truth? So now we need to understand what is truth. So when we go look at, we were in 2 Corinthians. So let me just finish off in 2 Corinthians. In 2 Corinthians, it turns around and it says, do not become unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness and lawlessness? And what fellowship has light with darkness? And what agreement has Messiah with Belial? And what part does a believer have with an unbeliever? And what union has the dwelling place of Yahuwah with idols? For you are a dwelling place of Yahuwah. As Yahuwah said, I shall dwell in them and walk among them, and I shall be their Yahuwah, and they shall be my people. So you see, he wants a tabernacle in whom he can dwell. Therefore, come out from among them, and be separate, says Yahuwah. Do not touch what is unclean. So we had a look last week at what is unclean. And I shall receive you. And I shall be a father to you. And you shall be sons and daughters to me, says Yahuwah the Almighty. Having then these promises, beloveds, let us clean ourselves from all defilement of the flesh and spirit, perfecting set apartness in the fear of Yahuwah. So we are supposed to be perfecting set apartness. We are supposed to be setting ourselves apart so that we can perfect that set apartness, so that we can become set apart. So that is why he says we are to have no partnership with that which is lawless. And that, what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness and so he says, for what partnership have righteousness and lawlessness? So you see, the righteousness is going to be the opposite of lawlessness. So let's look at what is righteousness. Let's go to Psalm 119. Let's go to my most favorite Psalm. Psalm 119 is just the most beautiful Psalm. No wonder the Father just loved David to write such deep words to the Father. And we're going to look at verse 142. So, verse 142 says, your righteousness is righteousness forever, and your Torah is truth. So, your righteousness is righteousness forever, and your Torah is truth. So what is truth? So truth, to be righteous, is to be able to walk in the truth. Now, righteousness, what is righteous? So when we look at the Greek word for righteous, it's G1342, dikaios. And it means observing divine laws, keeping the commands of Yahuwah, People whose way of thinking and feeling and acting is wholly conformed to the will of Yahuah, being innocent and wholly set apart. That is what is righteous. So if we're going to look at righteousness, this is what it means to be able to be righteous before the Father. It means observing divine laws, keeping the commands of Yahuah, and people whose way of thinking and feeling and acting is wholly conformed to the will of Yahuah, being innocent and holy. It's not me being able to come and want to be lawless. If I'm lawless when I drive a car, I cannot stand before a policeman if I am stepped over the speed limit, and then say to the say to the officer, I'm not under the law. He's going to say, sorry, but you are a citizen of this earth. And as long as you are a citizen of this earth, you are going to be bound by the laws of the road. And you also cannot come to him if there was no sign there and you didn't know what the law was, because you have a manual. So we cannot stand before the Father and say, well, I didn't know, because we all have Bibles. And his foundational covenant has been given to all of us, and that is why he doesn't just want us to read the New Testament. He gave us a foundational covenant so that we can read. But you see, the fear of Yahuah is no longer upon the people, because we no longer have a foundational covenant of understanding what is pleasing to him and what's not pleasing to him. We don't understand holiness, and this is why there's lawlessness. And this is why we want a love void of obedience. So we say that we love him, but we don't obey him. There's no love without obedience. To be able to say that we love him means to be able to be obedient to him, because he says, if you love me, you will obey my commands. So let's look at Psalm 119 verses 151. Psalm 119 verses 151 says, you are near Yahuah, and all your commands are truth. So you see, when he says this is the spirit of truth, this is a church of truth. So it's he who is set apart and he who is true. So we need to understand set apart, and we need to understand true, because you can't say you're of the Church of Philadelphia. You can't say that you are the Church of Philadelphia of the last days, and you're going to just say, well, I'm the bride, I'm the one of the Church of Philadelphia, I'm the one that's going to be spared of the hour of trial that's going to come upon the whole earth, when this is not your foundation. This has to be your foundation. If this is not your foundation, I'm sorry to say to you, you are not part of this church. And it's not I that say it. This is this word that says it. Because he is the one speaking to a people that is got to be in set apartness and in truth. And so if we have a look then at 160, the sum of your word is truth, and all your righteous right rulings are forever. All your righteous right rulings are forever. And the sum of your word is truth. So it's the sum of this word. You can't pick and choose what you want. And all your righteous right rulings are forever. That's the foundation that we've already been given. Yahushua came to set us apart. So now if we come to, so if we go to John chapter 17, let's go to John chapter 17. And in John chapter 17, and we go from verses 17 to 21, and it says, set them apart in your truth. Your word is truth. So Yahushua was crying out to his Father before he was going to be impaled at the stake. And he was saying, set them apart in your truth. Your word is truth. So he's asking the Father to set them apart in his truth. As you set me into the world, I also send them into the world. And for them I set myself apart, so they too might be set apart in truth. So you see, he says, I set myself apart so that they too might be set apart in truth. So if we are called to follow Yahushua, Yahushua is everything that is the word of truth. So how can I say that I follow Yahushua, but I don't follow what he followed in truth? Because then I'm deceived. I'm living a lie. And that is the deception of the lawlessness that is upon the earth. And that is the deception of the lawlessness that's been given to us by the false prophetic things that are out there. And he says, and I do not pray for these alone, but also for those believing in me through their word, so that they all might be one, as I am one. Father, as you are in me and I in you, so they too might be one in us, so that the world might believe that you have sent me. Because this is the church of Phillidelphia, which is the church of brotherly love. And this is a church of where we will be one in him. And therefore we will be one in spirit and in truth, in the fullness of walking set apartness. But you see, beloveds, this is not what is being preached in this day and age. It's not about being set apart. It's not about coming into set apartness. We are not preparing ourselves to come into set apartness, being holy as is holy. We think that it's okay to receive salvation, and that's all it is. But he says, be holy as I'm holy. And he's cleaning us from glory to glory. And remember, when he came and he stood on Mount Sinai, he wanted to put his fear in him so that they would not sin. And the problem is the fear of Yahuwah is not there. But why? It's because the truth of the word is not truly being preached. Because if we were to get back to the truth of this word, we would all be able to understand the revelation of the knowledge of the truth. So, if we have a look, the Father's commands are truth, and the Father's word is truth. So the word true in Greek is altheos. And in Revelation 3 verses 7, that word in Revelation 3 verses 7, where it says spirit and true, that word true is the word for loving the truth, speaking the truth, being truthful. But now you know what? We want to sit and say it's true because I don't lie. But we can be in deception of a lie in the fact of we are not in truth. And the only people that really come into truth are those who love truth. So we're never going to come into the fullness of the revelation of the truth of the Father's word if we don't love truth. We must love the truth. So if we have a look at 1 Peter chapter 1, and it says, therefore, from verse 13 we're going to read, therefore, having girded up the loins of your mind, being sober, set your expectation perfectly upon the favor that is to be brought to you in the revelation of Yahushua Messiah, as obedient children, not conforming yourself to the former lusts in your ignorance. Instead, as the one who called you is set apart. So do you see? As the one who called you is holy, as the one who called you is set apart, so you also become set apart in all behavior. You see, now, if this would be read to people that are still following the Father, saying that they are of the Father, but in behavioral matters, and we are all a work in progress because we're all having to change. But in behavioral matters, like if people that are serving the Father and they are still in fleshly lusts, in all behavioral matters, all I have to ask is, did my Messiah do this? Because if my Messiah did not do this, then neither should I. That's all we need to ask. Those little bands that says, what would Yeshua do? Because it has been written Be set apart, for I am set apart. And if you call on the Father, who without partiality judges according to each one's work, pass the time of your sojourning in fear. You see, where are these scriptures? He's the one who's going to judge, and we are to pass our time in fear. So we should fear him. But you see, that has been taken away. Knowing that you were redeemed from your futile behavior, inherited from your fathers, not with what is corruptible, silver or gold, but with the precious blood of Messiah, as of the Lamb, unblemished and spotless. So we have to be able to understand that this blood has to come and make us spotless, without blemish. Foreknown indeed before the foundations of the world, but manifested in those last times for your sake. Who through him believed in Yahuwah, who raised him from the dead and gave him esteem, so that your belief and expectation are in Yahuwah. Now that you have cleansed your lives in obeying the truth through the Spirit. So you see, you got to obey the truth through the Spirit and truth, to unfeigned brotherly love. Love one another fervently with a clean heart. And this is this church. So that unfeigned, that word unfeigned, is the word that it means sincere, without hypocrisy, no pretense. To be pure is to have a clean heart, purified by fire, like a vine cleansed by pruning, and so fitted to bear fruit. No uncleanness, free from corrupt desire, free from every mixture of what is false, to be blameless, innocent, clean, pure. And so when we get to verse 23, it says, having been born again, not of corruptible seed, but incorruptible, through the living word of Yahuwah, which remains forever. So we are to become uncorruptible through the living word. So it's the word that is going to come and set us free. And that is why we are to be able to study the word, because it's only the word that is going to come and set us free. And this is what the Father wants. He wants a royal priesthood. So now if we go to 1 Peter 2 from verse 9, and it says, but you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a set apart nation, a people for a possession, that you should proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, who were not a people, but now the people of Yahuwah, who had not obtained compassion, but now obtain compassion. Beloved ones, I appeal to you as sojourners and pilgrims to abstain from fleshly lusts, which battle against the being, having your behavior among the nations good, so that when they speak against you as evildoers, let them by observing your good works esteem Yahuwah in a day of visitation. So do you see, beloveds? That is why even today, in today's Torah portion of Toldot is about two lots of people. Right from the beginning, there were two lots of people that is fighting. In Rebekah's womb were two nations, Esau and Jacob. Two lots of nations. There's going to be a lawless people and there's going to be an obedient people. Esau was red. The name Esau means from Adam, red. Why? He comes from the ground. It's a flesh being. It's a flesh nature. It's a nature of the flesh. He was hairy because he had an animal nature. And he loved to be in the fields. And that is why he gave to his appetite. He sold his birthright to his brother for a plate of food because he had lusts of the flesh. He loved to be in the wild. He loved to go and hunt the wild animals. But what did Jacob love to do? Jacob loved to sit in the father's tent and listen to the word and be about the word. So right from the beginning, you get the first Adam that fell, and then you're going to get Yahushua, that's going to be the second Adam. Then you're going to get Cain and Abel. Cain representing a flesh nature, Abel representing a spirit nature. Then you're going to get Orpah, and you're going to get Ruth. Orpah went back to her people, the Moabites, but Ruth said, your people will be my people, your Yah will be my Yah. Hold on to her mother-in-law and chose to be an obedient one. From who comes David, the bloodline? From the bloodline comes Yahushua. There was Vashti and Esther. Vashti, rebellious against the king. There comes Esther, humble, obedient, servant of the Father. Wants to be obedient, wants to do what is right. There's always a flesh nature that comes. And right now, there is going to be those that are going to clash, because that is the clash that was in the womb. So you cannot turn around and say, well, that is only for those that was non-believers. It's for the non-believers. No, beloveds. He's going to separate between the sheep and the sheep. Those that are his from those that are not. Because, look here, this was something that was revealed to me in this week that just amazed me. Now, we've always looked at the genealogy of Adam, and we know Adam had Cain and Abel, but Cain killed Abel, and then Cain went into the land of Nod. He went into the wilderness. So there will be those that will be in the wilderness, and that's the path of wandering, and that is where it's spoken of. I can't go deep into this. This is a teaching of the whole teaching of 2 Thessalonians, where you go into that place of wandering, which is when you are going to be able to be in the falsehood. When you go into falsehood, you go into a place of wandering. So you go into the working of delusion, and that delusion is the place of wandering. The falsehood is the lie, but the delusion is that place of wandering, where you go into wandering. And that's going into a place of restlessness. But now look at this. Then Adam had Seth. So let's look at Genesis chapter 5, verse 3. And Adam lived 130 years and brought forth a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. So we know that then Adam had Seth, and so we think it was only Seth, and then there was the bloodline from Seth. Listen. And after he brought forth Seth, the days of Adam were 800 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. So all the days of Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. So Adam was 800 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. So Adam brought forth other sons and daughters. Where are those sons and daughters? Where were they? Where were they in the household? Because the bloodline comes down Seth, then it's Enosh, then it's Canaan. So somewhere along the line, there were all these other people that they had. But guess what? They not there. The same as Noah had brothers and sisters, according to Genesis chapter 5, verse 30. And after he brought forth Noah, Lamech lived 595 years and brought forth sons and daughters. So where are all Noah's brothers and sisters? So this was making up all the rebellious people on the earth. Yet they were brought forth from Adam. They were brought forth. Seth then had Enosh. And so Seth lived 105 years and brought forth Enosh. And he brought forth Enosh. Seth lived 807 years and brought forth sons and daughters. More sons and daughters of Seth. So by this time, it's populating until we get to Noah. And where's all this population that came down from Adam, that knew the righteous ways of the Father? Had gone astray, beloveds. They had gone astray. And so this is why we are in a time now where Father is going to seal off those that are his from those that are not. Because right from the time of the beginning, he brought the flood and destroyed all those people. And don't think they didn't come from a righteous bloodline, because there's Seth that knew the ways of Abba Yahuah. What happened to his sons and daughters? Except for Enosh, what happened to the rest? So do you see the ratio? One out of how many other sons and daughters? Then Enosh brought forth Canaan. So where are the rest of the sons and the daughters? So do you see, there's going to be this thing on the earth where we've got to understand set apartness, holiness, lawlessness. Because why? It says in Matthew chapter 24, that brother will turn against brother, because there's going to be the lawlessness on the earth, and they will lose the love for one another. So if we continue now to read this church of Philadelphia, and it says, he who has the keys of David, he who has the key of David, and who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens. So this is a people that he gives keys to. And the door that he opens, no one will shut. And the door that he closes, no one will open. And he says, I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door, and no one is able to shut it. That you have little power. So you see, look at this. It's going to be a church that in the last days is going to have very little power. They're not going to have a lot of power. Very little power. Yet have guarded my word and have not denied my name. So they are those that are guarding his word, and they are those that are not going to deny the name of the Father. And so if we have a look over here, and it says, see, I'm giving. So here we look and we see they have little power, and yet they have guarded his word and have not denied his name. So we look as we finish off here in Revelation chapter 3, And we are looking at verse 9. See, I'm giving up those of the congregation of Satan who say they are Jews, who say they are Yehudim and are not but lie. See, I'm making them come and worship before your feet to know that I have loved you. So you see, he spoke about this in the church of Smyrna, and he's speaking about it again in the church of Philadelphia. So it's the two faithful churches facing the same thing, because in the church of Smyrna, he turns around and he says, I know your works and pressure and poverty, verse 9 from Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. I know your works and pressure and poverty, yet you are rich. And the blaspheme of those who say they are Yehudim and are not, but are a congregation of Satan. Now he tells you again in Revelation 3, verse 9, and now we're dealing with the church of Philadelphia, and he says, see, I'm giving up those of the congregation of Satan who say they are Yehudim and are not, but lie. See, I'm making them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you. Because you have guarded my word of endurance, I shall guard you from the hour of trial, which shall come upon all the world, to try those who dwell on it. So you see, the whole world is going to go under the biggest trial and test. He says, see, I'm coming speedily. Hold what you have, that no one take your crown. He who overcomes, I shall make him a supporting post. Now that post is actually a flame. It's a flame of fire. So when you talk about a post, so when he talks about, I shall guard you, I shall keep you from the hour of trial, it means he's going to shut us up, he's going to close us up, he's going to enclose us. We are going to be shut up, we're going to be enclosed in him. And it's the same word that he used when he spoke in Genesis 7 verses 16, when he shut the door of the ark. So we have to become an ark that carries his presence for him to shut the door. When he shuts that door and he closes us in, he shuts us in. No one can get to us. No one can harm us. And so that word that we see over there of that post is a pillar of fire and flames. So we need to become that pillar of fire and flames. We need to become a pillar that is a flame of fire for the Father. And I shall write on him the name of my Yahuah and the name of the city of Yahuah, the renewed Jerusalem, which comes down out of heaven from my allure and my renewed name. So this is the faithful church. And if you see this church, and then he says, I am coming speedily, verse 11. See, I'm coming speedily. Hold what you have, that no one take your crown. So this is a separate church, but it's tied to the faithful church of Smyrna, because what did they receive at the church of Smyrna? They received the crown. He says, do not be afraid, verse 10, Revelation 2 verse 10. Do not be afraid of what you are about to suffer. See, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison in order to try you, and you shall have pressure 10 days. Be trustworthy until death, and I shall give you the crown of life. Now he's telling you that you had little strength in verse 8, chapter 3, verse 8. Even though you have little strength. Why? Because you have been enduring. You've had to stand. You've been tested. You've been tried. You've been persecuted. They've been wanting even to put you to death. But even though you have little power, yet you have guarded my word and have not denied my name. And then he says, see, then I'm giving up. So then he talks about the synagogue of Satan again. And then he says, let no one take the crown, because your crown that you gave was the crown of life. Let no one take that crown. So we praise the Father and we bless the Father that we may be able to become these pillars of fire, and that we will be shut in the time. And that doesn't matter what we need to endure. We all will be this faithful bride that will serve the Father in spirit and in truth.